Welcome to the Parenting with Confidence podcast. I am your host, Teresa Alexander Inman, board certified behavior analyst and infant toddler developmental specialist. Today, I am, really excited because Dr. Joseph Garcia is here and he speaks to my heart with the work that he does. So before we jump in, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him and then we'll move on to all the amazing information that he has to share with us. So, Dr. Joseph has pioneered the global effort to improve parent-infant communication since 1988. His experiences in the deaf community inspired his pioneering work. His books and programs have resulted in thousands of families using signs to communicate with their pre-speech infants. Over the years, he has found that most parents and caregivers are happy with just using signs for eat more milk and milk. However, babies are curious by nature and could express more if they had the vocabulary. So Dr. Garcia created a practical, effective, easy to use method to help parents add many more signs to their daily lives. He regularly consults with hospitals, healthcare providers, and educational institutions on how to use sign language as an effective method of communication when spoken language is not an option. His groundbreaking work continues his Learn to Read Dr. Joseph's fingerspelling book, a program that makes learning to read a game-like activity. Sorry, I feel like I have a new tongue today. Following his military service, Dr. Joseph, working with the deaf community and physicians from across the nation, developed a comprehensive course in diagnostic medical communication in American Sign Language to respond to the large number of veterans going deaf from anti-malaria drugs. To enjoy life, he ran a dog sled team for many years, communicated with chimpanzees through signing, is a jazz musician, a stage entertainer, doing magic shows for more than 50 years. He skis, he snowboards, and he mountain bikes. And he is in his 70s. I'm sorry, I just told him your secret, but look at him. I mean, amazing. Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for being here. I am so excited
Well, I'm
about
happy.
learning
I
from
was
you.
just saying, I'm very happy to be here with you.
Thank you. And like I told you before we started recording, signing, like I've, worked with parents about teaching their children to sign, children who are pre-speech to sign. But usually we start that at 2 years old. You're talking about starting much earlier. So please enlighten us.
Well, my research indicates that a child at about 4 months starts to be able to focus at a distance of arm's length,
Mhm.
a parent's arm's length, not an infant's arm's length. But the idea is that once they can focus and see clearly what's going on around them at that level, you can start to introduce gestures or signs to an infant. Now, I don't advocate teaching signs to babies at all. What I advocate is modeling the signs because you want the child to learn the signs on their with using their own resources. You don't want to force feed signs to a child. You want to have the child observe, associate the sign with what's going on around them, and as a result, they draw on their own internal resources and they produce the signs to communicate. And that's the magic. It's empowering your child with the tools to communicate that inspires them to want to do more. In fact, you mentioned that in your introduction about eat milk and more. I am so frustrated by parents. They get eat milk and more and they think this is great and stop. Can you imagine being confined, understanding the world around you, and not being able to communicate anything more than eat milk or more? It's just crazy. Anyway, to answer your question, 4 months old is a good age to start modeling the signs. And then don't expect any kind of expression for a couple of months. The idea is that you want to be consistent. That's why my 14-day baby sign language program is designed for parents. The babies are ready to go. It's the parents that need the training and sort of a guide on how to produce the signs. And one thing that I want to mention, how you deliver signs to a child is as important, if not more important, than the concept of signing with a pre-speech infant. So when I first put my first book out on this many, many years ago, it was the only thing out there in the world. Now there's a lot of copycats out there, but they're created by people who have deep pockets, saw how cute it was, but didn't do the research and don't understand the mechanisms behind the learning process, the cultural imprinting, and all the things that happen in a child's mind. And they don't deliver the signs in a way that is the most efficient and effective way. And it's kind of sad to see you end up with kids eat milk, eating more, and that's it. And that's just, oh, it's just so disenchanting to know that the resource is there, the capacity is there, but the know-how or the delivery is missing. It's just sad. But you speak for 2 years or 18 months or whatever before a child starts articulating clear words to you. So to wait 2 months modeling signs before a child can actually produce the signs is a very short timeline. And I'll tell you what, the second year of life, when a child really understands the world around them and can associate what's going on around them, they understand feelings, emotions, fears, joys, things of interest. And if they can express those things through sign, boy, your life goes so much easier. It doesn't eliminate the terrible twos and threes, but it really reduces them, reduces the tantrums, the duration of a tantrum when a child can express themselves, and on and on and on. So my point is that introduce signs around the fourth month or so, model them, show them in the way that I describe in my 14-day program, so the child can associate each sign with the different things happening around them, and then give them time and just keep consistent. You keep talking. Well, don't stop signing because the babies don't sign back right away. You keep doing it for a while, and eventually, I've talked with thousands of families. They say, yeah, some babies explode with signs all of a sudden when they find they have the capacity to do so. Others dribble out sign here, sign there, a little at a time. Everybody's a little bit different, but the important thing is they have communication. And the sign eat milk and more. One final thing about that, mamas sign the word milk. When you squeeze your hand together like this, every time you nurse your child, and eventually the child associates that squeezing with being nursed. When eventually they reach their hand out, they do the sign. Mom picks them up, nurses them. They go, "Whoa, isn't that cool? I can control my environment with my own resources. Wow, great!" But then that's all they know is milk. So when they want something else, they sign milk. When they want everything, they sign milk for everything because that's all they know. And we condemn them to that cage of communication without offering them the correct signs for what they need, what they want. And that's what I studied for years is, what do babies need and want to communicate about? What do parents need to protect them and to give them what they need and to understand what they are needing and what have you? And I put that together in the 14-day program so that not only are you learning the right method to deliver the signs, but you're learning the right kind of vocabulary necessary to really allow your child to express those things that they are going to be interested in.
Yes,
Does
and
that answer your question?
oh my gosh, yes. And you're also taking advantage of the fact that at that age, they build 100 million synapses per second.
Yes. Uh, Trillions in the first 3 years of life. That's why we call it the cultural imprinting time. There's more growth than any other time in their entire existence. So this is when you want to stimulate that process. And I don't mean, again, I want to really be cautious about this. We don't force feed signs. You model them. The confidence and all of that internal capacity to affect their environment and engage life. When a signing baby learns to sign, they engage life. They don't wait for life to happen to them. And that sets in stage during this cultural imprinting time, attitude and a motivation to want to get out there and do stuff rather than waiting for life to happen to them. And that attitudinal establishment is really important in child. And again, I've heard hundreds of parents tell me they have two children. First children didn't sign, second one signed. And I know everybody's a little different anyway, but they said the attitude and motivation of the child who signed is so much different than that one who didn't, because couple things that they draw in, and this is anecdotal. I haven't done a longitudinal clinical study on how it or what is causing this, but it's the assumption or the suggestion that when a child starts to formulate language, you build a foundation. You learn, for example, the word ball. Well, when a typically developing child says the word ball at 18 months, the child who's been signing for a year is saying, yeah, it's red and it bounces this high. So they're already to the point of doing analysis, uh, all kinds of deductive reasoning. You talk about synapse connections. Oh God, they're really connecting. They're firing. They're engaging. As a result, we call it the stuff of intelligence. And I'm not saying signing is going to make your baby more intelligent. Quite the contrary. It has nothing to do with intelligence. What it has to do with is internal capacity and attitude adjustment, so that a child knows that they can engage the world, affect their environment through their own personal communication, and that sets in stage not, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but again, engaging attitude about life. And I think that right there is the gold, or the essence of why we sign. Yeah, it's cute and all that. It's great to be able to know what your child wants exactly, like a grape, or they're afraid of a mosquito, or whatever they're signing. But to get in motion that desire to engage the world, that's the important part of this.
Yes, and now they can feel like they're part of their environment instead of just sitting passively without engagement.
Exactly.
Wow. That is, I need to just wrap my head around the beauty of it.
Well, I'm just saying most people don't even see. And there's one other aspect that is hidden. There's so much of this is just amazing. I mean, 28 years ago, or 30 years ago, when I did that research and started this whole process, I had no idea. Sort of like discovering a new continent, or a new place, or a new dimension, or something. Wow, this is just, whenever you cross two cultures together, the hybrid that comes out of it is always brings really amazing benefits. When you take two cultures and bring them together, what happens? You come with hybrid information, that you exchange things. And when we exchange things between the deaf and the hearing, using or borrowing their beautiful sign language in order to engage and increase the human condition in the hearing world, we also use our finger spelling, like I've used in my books, to help the tactile muscle memory aspect of learning affects spelling and learning to read in a game-like activity, rather than force feeding, putting them in a class and making them learn to read with stress and anticipation put on them. We've tested our finger spelling book at kindergarten schools, and they said that teachers say during recess the kids go outside and they sit across from each other and finger spell words back and forth, and a lot of them have competency in spelling first and second grade words before they're out of kindergarten, and they never had to sit and study and learn anything. It was all done in games and fun. So that's the way we need to make learning fun and engaging, and baby sign language. One thing too, I want to express: moms tell me, especially moms, dads a few times, but mostly moms, say that when they finally do sign and they're consistent, they keep producing the signs for a couple of months before their child produces anything at all. And finally, when they start producing signs, it starts coming out. It gives them that satisfaction, especially first time moms, knowing that they're doing what their baby needs. It's
Yeah.
just amazing. It just really inspires them to be able to be a more responsive parent. Yeah, you know what your baby needs and wants, but when they start telling you the difference between an apple and a banana,
Mm.
or that they're scared of a certain page in a book because it has a picture that scares them and they want to go to a different book. I mean, those things, how do you know that if you don't, have somewhere clear communication? And signs provide that, of course.
Wow. So we're probably traumatizing our babies with that and not even realizing, they're
Well,
scared of
well,
something and we're not, and they're not able to communicate it. So now when they're like, oh no, but look at that cute little monkey, but I'm
yeah,
scared.
yeah. I'll tell you a true story with my own son. We have the Dr. Seuss book about feet, big feet, yellow feet, blue feet. People have seen those books before. And right, we signed the sign finished. Finished
Mhm.
is just two hands going like that. I guess they're like that. Finished.
Yeah.
And we use it a lot when we do the diaper changing. When they're very young, we sign stay. We put our hand on their chest, we
Uh-huh.
change the diaper, and then when we're all done, we go finished. Now, when they're very young, they stay and they take care of it. They start
Mhm.
getting about 16 or 12 to 14 months old. They're ready to flop around and move all over the place. When they have a mess in their diaper, you want them to stay and hold that position until you sign finished. So my son knew finished really well, of course. And we used it a lot of different things. When we're done eating, okay, eating, we're finished. And we go and do something else or something like that. So we use the finished in a lot of different situations. Well, we get to the book, the Bigfoot book, and right before the page with big feet, there's a guy that says little feet and big feet. The big feet, there's this big creature, it's hairy with big feet. And my son was so scared of that picture. I didn't know that. But we ran through the book a couple of times. The third time we went through the book, we got to the page before the big feet. He signed finished, finished, and he grabbed a different book. So
Wow.
I'm just saying, now I wouldn't have known that, but he was able to identify the page before the finished thing or the Bigfoot and identify, I don't want to see that again, and was able to tell me. Now, I wouldn't say it's trauma. I wouldn't quite go that far, but it allows a child to express their fears, their joys, their apprehensions, all those things, which it's good to know, because then you can work through them with a child rather than you don't have to completely ignore them, because we want children to address their fears too. But there's a way to do that without, like you said, traumatizing them, or without unknowingly doing something that a child could prevent if they could express themselves.
Wow. Awesome. Now, I have to confess, I've been doing it all wrong. So when I work with my little ones, I actually will take their hand, put it to the mouth for eating, and give them the thing to eat. So that's force feeding. That's not what you
That's
recommend.
right. Yeah. Model. If you model enough every day consistently, a child, we don't give them enough credit. They really know what's going on. Just be natural. Yeah, in other words, you don't move their lips and tongue to make them talk, right?
Right.
So they just listen and watch and they experiment, and they're going to do that with their signs too. Not all infants will sign correctly. In fact, you'll see on my videos on the website, the sign for water is, of course, three
Mhm.
fingers,
Yeah.
W. But babies can't do that. So they
Right.
either go like with a whole hand or with a
Mhm.
finger or something like that. And that's fine. You continue to make the sign correctly and you identify what the baby's version is, respond to that, of course. Never correct a child. Just continue to make the sign correctly, and they will correct themselves, just like they correct themselves when they articulate words. My name is Joe Fish for most of my grandkids until they got
Right.
old enough to say Joseph,
Right.
But so we just went with Joe Fish for a long time. It was fine. In fact, other people call me Joe Fish now too because of it. But the point is, continue making your signs right. Don't force feed signs.
Yeah.
The magic is when the child identifies and learns the sign on their own resources and aren't forced on it. That's really important.
Okay. So parents and children, please forgive me. I thought I was doing the right
Now, but
thing.
wait. There are times, and I've seen this happen many
Mhm.
times, when a child wants to know a sign and they'll offer their hands to you to help you make the sign for them. Now, in that case, by all means, you can help them to form their hand if necessary and make the motion and say, yeah, or say, yeah, that's banana. When you go like this, that's
Right.
banana. And then they try it again and they ask you to correct them. Yeah, that's fine. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't say, okay, now we're going to sign bananas today. Take your hand, put it like this, and go like that.
Right.
No, don't. It shouldn't be a lesson. It should just be you pick up the banana, sign it, give it to them.
Mhm.
Eventually, they're going to look and say, wait, if I want a banana, I got to go like this in order to get the banana. And
Gotcha.
eventually, I'm going to say banana. But until I can do that, I'm going to go like this and get my banana. So,
Awesome. Thank you. See, I knew I was going to learn a whole lot today.
well, I just want to pass on what this is just people tell me stuff. I watch, I observe. I've done this for 30 years now. And oh gosh, groups and huge groups at hospitals and community parent groups and all this kind of thing. And I get the stories back after, in fact, when I started long ago. I've got the second generation now of parents who signed when they were babies, who are having babies now, signing with their kids. And that's a real exciting thing, of course, to hear and to have them write me emails, say, yeah, I remember signing when I was a baby. My mom took all these pictures of me and videos of me signing. Now I'm doing it with my child. And it's so exciting to have so many signs. I used your 14-day program, and you're right. I had 80 signs in about 2 months. It's just great. So yeah, what I do is I give you digestible chunks based on the events of the day of short little groups of signs of 3, 4, 5 signs for that event. And every time you do that event, you do those signs. As a result, when you're done, you've got 88 signs, and you learn them because you do them repetitively throughout the day, doing those diaper changes or baths or eating, whatever you're doing. And as a result, the baby sees the things that they are engaged with and what they need and want. And as a result, they learn really quick. But the parents learn, and that's the important part. They're the ones who have to model all these signs. And once they get familiar with them, most of them are very iconic and easy. It's not really difficult things like, book. It looks like a book, I mean, like it's real simple stuff. So it's just a matter of going through the process of doing it every day until it becomes part of your life. And pretty soon you're signing all the time with your baby. And boom, they start expressing themselves and communicating, and life changes overnight. I tell you what, it's amazing.
Yes, that's so exciting. And I'll be taking your course. Um,
Well,
so I can help
I'll
parents.
send you a link. Yeah, it's all it's on your device, on your phone, your tablet, your computer, whatever. So you can have it right next to you when you're doing these events. Push the button, and I come on. Unfortunately, we couldn't afford a real model, so when I come on and I show you how to do the signs, I explain a good way to present them if there's a special way to do that, and then you just and you can rewind or repeat whatever you need to do, but it doesn't. I mean, the signs are quick. I've never had a parent who's gone through this program say, "Yeah, I had a little bit of problem with it." Everybody says, "Oh yeah, it's real simple. I just pick up my phone, I look at the sign and go, oh yeah, those 3 signs. I practice them a couple seconds, hit my kid, and there you go. We're
Yeah,
doing it. It's great."
beautiful. Now, a lot of parents I've worked with have concerns that if their child learns to sign, will it delay their speech?
Yeah, yeah, you won't be able to shut them up. I don't mean it derogatorily. I mean, children, once they start talking, it's like, you ever see a child pick up a toy, play with it for 2 seconds, and then drop it and go to the next toy? That's
Mhm.
what they do with sign language. Sign language is a window. It's a time between about the 6th to 8th month is when they start producing signs. Generally, if you start at the 4th month, modeling them. And then about 18 months, 2 years, they start articulating a lot of words. And as the words pick up, at one point, there's like, what's glue blue,
Mhm.
the signs help as a translator, but eventually when they articulate clearly, then they drop the signs and they talk, and the signs are lost forever. But unless they pick them up again in school or in classes, or or use them for some other reason. But generally speaking, we don't see a lot of children continuing with signs. In fact, my own kids dropped signs, and then they didn't pick them up again until they got into high school and took a class in ASL, and that was it. And even then, when they finished with that, they dropped that and went on with their life because they weren't engaged with the deaf community and they didn't have any deaf friends. There was no real reason to keep signing for them. Whereas in my case, I have a lot of deaf friends, so I still sign all the time. But it depends on what your life leads. But yeah, I would say the timeline is about 2 years, and they drop the signs, but they start to talk. And the thing about talking, we have this, why does a small person clutch their purse when they walk by a group of big ruffy looking guys, Well, it's because of their fear of, I don't know who these guys are, if they're gonna be, after me or what. Well, we think the same thing about the deaf community. We never see them talking. Can they talk? Well, sure they could if they could hear themselves to correct theirs. You hear a lot of deaf people talking like this and they talk like this because they can't hear themselves to correct their articulation. As a result, they just don't talk because it's easier to sign. It's real clear. It's perfectly clear. But we see that, and as a society, we say, well, deaf people can't talk. Therefore, if I sign, I won't be able to talk. Well, that's ridiculous. No, if you sign, like I remember said before, a typically developing child will say ball. The signing child will say, yeah, and it's red and it bounces as high, because they've had language for a year. Language, whether it's express modality, whether it's spoken, signed, stomp with your feet, played with musical instrument, it's still language. And as a result, you're developing the concept of how to communicate and express yourself. So when that expressive modality transitions from signing to speech, well, you've got a lot more to say because you've been communicating for a year, whereas the other babies, blah blah blah, walking, it's fine, they're fine, but they haven't been developing the structure of language in their mind, whereas the signing child has been. So when they start to speak, well, they have more to say because they already have language, and everyone around them speaking, they can't wait to speak. I mean, again, you won't be able to shut them up. Mama, why? Mama, why? Papa, why? I mean, just that'll happen. Don't worry about it.
Awesome.
I've
So
never, ever, ever had in the 30 years I've worked with thousands of families had anybody not speak because they signed ever. Now we have other developmental delays in a child where signing really comes in handy. Autism, speech delays, sometimes developmental delays, all kinds of. In fact, my original degree is in special education, so all these instances in which signing can really be a benefit for children who are usually non-verbal or have difficulty in communicating verbally. So there's many implications beyond just infants that are typically developing, of course. But my focus is that if everybody did that, it wouldn't matter as your child develops and you see that there may be issues in some sort of a engagement with certain capacities, the signing was already be there as an anchor for communication. There's nothing that's going to hurt that at all, but it'll help this situation of anything. And as you discover the capacity of your child, the signing will be there to communicate in that capacity to whatever it may be.
absolutely, and I found, which is why I guess I've been force feeding science because I've seen the benefits of it, and in the fact that it's helped reduce a lot of tantrums because they can communicate what they want effectively. So then we should see that shift then in the tantrum reduction because of the fact that the child now, they've actually developed communicating.
Yes. In fact, there's one interesting story, not only reducing tantrums, but confidence. Imagine now, envision five little preschool children in a row. They're all about, a year and a half, a little bit less possibly, and they can walk around and play and do stuff, but they can't really talk yet. And there's some crackers up on the shelf out of reach. And one of the children look up at the caregiver and they sign cracker. And the caregiver looks over, grabs a cracker, reaches over and gives it to him. The other four children stay in line, look at that guy and say, hey, this guy's got some skills. Wow, I want to be able to do that. I mean, just imagine the confidence he feels. Yeah, I can get what I want because I know how to communicate. I
Yeah.
mean, again, I go back to this attitude thing about, boy, children who communicate at that early age during that cultural imprinting. Again, I want to stress this cultural imprinting time, the first 3 years of life. That is so crucial to get as much gentle and wonderful stimulation into a child as you can. No force feeding, no pressure, just have fun. You want a child to want to learn, to learn. You don't want them to fear learning. You don't want them to be apprehensive of it. You don't want them to feel pressure or people anticipate or have kind of expectations of them to succeed, or that'll come soon enough. Right now we just need to let the child find themselves, learn how to navigate in the world. And that is an important word. The difference between navigating through life and riding the roller coaster of life is having signs or not having signs.
Gotcha. Which actually goes right in line with one of my favorite sayings, to prepare the child for the path, not the path for the child. So
Right, exactly. That's a good line. Yep.
yeah, I saw it somewhere. Anonymous wrote it, so I can't give anybody credit. It was just on the wall of a preschool that I loved working at. So
Well, I do a lot of stand up. Like you said, I do magic shows and stand up with kids and adults both. But I try to write jokes and I try to find sayings like that and do a twist on them, to be a funny joke. And I've come up with a few interesting ones. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like the school called me today and they said, your son is starting to tell a lot of lies. I says, wow, well, he must be pretty good at it. I don't have any kids.
Love it. That is good.
Well, it's a school joke. Again, I'm in a lot of
Right.
schools, so,
I love it. Might have to share. I will share that one because I think that's really funny. Wow, love it. Now, Dr. Joseph, if there's one thing you want parents to leave this moment with, what would it be?
Oh, just, I'm not trying to hawk my own stuff. I just want you to be cautious. There's a lot of products out there that are well-meaning, but be careful that you get the right stuff because you want to give your child the best chance of success and the best chance to communicate without any stress put on them or anything. So just be aware of that and do it by all means. Oh, we've unknowingly condemned our children to silence for the first 2 years of their life for for eons, except for the deaf haven't. They've been communicating clearly. In fact, it's the first time I saw hearing children of deaf parents signing complete sentences at 14 months old and going, why don't we do that? Why not? Because we're afraid that if we hang out with the deaf people, we'll go deaf too, or we're around disabled people, we'll become disabled, or if we're around blind, we'll go blind. There's this crazy notion that people with other abilities have some issue that we can't integrate with. What they call us in the disabled community. I'm a DAV, disabled American veteran too, and we call all of the other people temporarily able-bodied because at some point you're everybody's going to deteriorate to the point where something's going to go wrong. So we're
Right.
only temporarily able-bodied.
That's
So
it.
let's take advantage of the gifts that we've gotten from the wonderful community of the deaf community and use them to our advantage. Show respect and thankfulness to them, but at the same time, use the tools that are available to us to enhance the human condition and your own family. And I've got more information about those kind of things at my website. I think it's just drjosephgarcia.com. And check it out. And if even if you, I'm not saying get my stuff, but make sure the stuff that you get is going to be quality and that's based on good and solid research and not just, oh, that's cute. I'm going to make myself a sign language program and sell it on the internet because there's a lot of that out there right now.
Yes. And at your website, people can find the course, yes?
Oh yeah, well there's that and a bunch of other stuff too. There's the fingerspelling book. Those people are in fact the medical sign language program that you mentioned at the beginning of the program. I put together that is called Medisign. It's a diagnostic program for healthcare, paramedic, EMTs, doctors, whatever, nurses, and we're going to give that away to the country here this year. We're just going to have it available. It's a download online course too, and we just decided what good is all this stuff if it doesn't serve humanity? So we're just going to give it away for free. People are welcome to make contributions because the nonprofit that helped me put that together could use the help. But other than that, we're making it for free for the whole country. So if you go to drjosephgarcia.com, you can see all that stuff. And Joseph is JOSEPHGARCIA.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. This has been so enlightening. I thank you so much for coming and teaching us because this is so vital. It's just a way to get our children to be able to express themselves. And like you said, not live a life of silence for 2 years.
That's right. Yeah. Well, modeling is important. Again,
Yes,
model, don't teach.
yes, 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 yes. I got that. And I will cleanse my ways. I'll fix them.
Hey, every convert is one more person who's spreading the word the right way. So that's great. I appreciate it. I
Absolutely.
appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's funny, I talk so much about modeling. And when it comes to sign, I never thought to model. I just thought, let me just show them because they need to learn to sign, eat right away.
Well, there's one group, I think it was in Oklahoma. I heard about this a few years ago. We're using signs to discipline children. I'm going, oh my gosh, that early, you shouldn't be disciplining anything. It's just like,
Right.
my
Yeah.
gosh. And split the atom, what do they make with it? Fission or a bomb? It's like one would help us, one will hurt us. So you have to take these new innovations and use them correctly, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. Parents, you've had so much information here. Now run with it, please,
Mhm.
because this is great information to help you parent with confidence.
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast today.
You are most welcome, sir.